Okay, it's my ultimate pleasure to introduce Craig Unger, a famous author of a number of books which are related to the Russian affairs, so to speak. And one of his recent books, maybe the most recent one, is American Compromat, which was based in a large part on the stories told by Yuri Shvets, the former KGB major, that would be the right way to put it, who served under the TASS coverage in the 90s, 80s in the United States, in Washington. And Craig, first of all, thank you very much for agreeing to give me some like 5, 7 minutes of your time. I would like to ask you, how did you know that you could trust the guy?
Well, first of all, I've been interviewing people in the world of intelligence for more than 30 years, and one thing is you go there not uh, one does not trust one's sources. That is, in the world of intelligence, you have people who are very knowledgeable, but you're also aware that uh, espionage is about deception. So everything I tried to do was to one is I did research Yuri's background as much as possible, but I also did, as I would do with any source, decided to corroborate or refute, or at least try to, everything he told me.
I understand that you should be grateful to this source of information because it was proved to be invaluable to you in your researches as an author. But still, after a number of meetings with you, I know how meticulous and diligent you are in your work. And no matter what I told you, I knew that you would double check what I said. So, did you do the same thing with the Yuri Shvets information?
Yes, I also think it's worth noticing that in his background, he has been vetted many times the by very authoritative institutions. Or maybe I should qualify that. But he was on CBS 60 Minutes twice as a subject, so they do a lot of vetting there. He testified before the United States Congress as well. I believe it was in 1999. He's testified in a lot of court trials, and he's written a book, which was published by Simon and Schuster. So his background, as such, that is what he did in the KGB, was pretty well established before I met him, and I could find authoritative documentation backing that up. In addition, I did have many interviews with him, several dozen. I don't know if it was 50 or 60, and I would go back over material again and again. I would always seek out other sources if possible. Often I was able to get them and corroborate things that he said that were unlikely. I also sought for dispositive information. And but to be honest, I think everything he told me, I was able to pretty much check it out, or there were some things which I only had one source, and I would tell the reader that.
So, you worked with Yuri Shvets more like an interrogator who would ask the same questions in many different forms, back and forth, and finally trying to trap the other guy. But it didn't happen in your case, right?
I think he's very disciplined. He's very professional. He's well trained, and I was able to corroborate stuff that I thought was unlikely
Okay.
that he gave me.
I watched his original interview with the book notes, and what struck my mind was that he was so focused, so concentrated, that he was practically impeccable in terms of our conversation. But that show was edited. It's not a disadvantage. It doesn't say anything against Yuri Shvets. But it's one thing to be on the American mainstream informational sources like TV or talking to you and you would write a book in English. It's another thing being Russian by origin. So what I noticed that his videos uh, draw a very different picture of Yuri Shvets versus the picture you just drew of him in the American mainstream market. Does it surprise you?
I well, I'm not sure what to make of it because I don't know what that picture is.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
Okay, the picture is that I happen to notice, unfortunately, I don't like my conclusion, that there's a lot of misinformation in whatever he says on his blog.
I can only speak to what my experience with
Absolutely.
him, and it was a positive experience. And no one has pointed out a single error in my book. No one has challenged a single fact, including material that initially came from Yuri.
Okay, I want for the audience who are watching us now to add something about Craig Unger. First of all, like I said from the very beginning, you always double and triple check, and um, I learned a lot from the way you interviewed me at this time. But uh, there is only one little mistake in your book. It surprised me a lot because you should have known better. It's nothing big, but you mentioned that Stalin died in 1952, whereas it happened next year. How come this thing uh, stayed on paper?
Well, to be honest, no one had pointed it out to me until this moment. I'm not. Um,
No, that's cool.
you
That's
know,
cool.
I
Actually,
do have professional fact checkers go over it, and perhaps I can go to the text later. But
no, if there's any additional additions, you should correct it. But for the
okay,
mainstream American readers, it's not a big deal. And there's another thing. It was also very small in your book, but you said that Joseph Kobzon sang a lot in the Russian restaurants, and the impression stays that he did it for a living. Actually, he performed 2 or 3 times while when he was in New York with the former mayor of Moscow, Lushkov, and that was because people asked him. To him, to sing for a living in a Russian restaurant on Brighton Beach would be an ultimate humiliation, no matter how much he likes the immigration. So, but it was actually not exactly correct. And again, the American reader would not even know that.
I don't think I made ever said he was making a living by singing in on Brighton Beach. Maybe that's how you interpret it, but the book doesn't say that.
Okay, okay. So I love to be mistaken in this particular way. Okay, Craig, one last question. In view of what you just told me about Yuri Shvets, would you install a Kaspersky antivirus program in your computer?
Um, would I do that?
Yep.
I'm not sure what that has to do with Yuri or
I'll tell you
whatever.
what it has to do with Yuri. Kaspersky graduated from the high school of KGB, the same education which Yuri Shvets did about at the same time when Putin was like um, a mate, student mate. Kaspersky graduated in 1991. He has 300 million subscribers to his antivirus program. So, would you install this program if it's such a success on the market into your personal
Uh,
computer?
I would not do it without any other research. I'm not going to install any programs, period, without researching them seriously.
Thank you very much, Craig. Okay.